This story is titled, Am I Wrong for Making My Sick Husband Clean Up His Vomit? My husband has been dealing with some kind of stomach bug for the last few days. We're not entirely sure what it is. Maybe something he ate, maybe a virus, but it's been rough. He's had all the classic symptoms: vomiting, diarrhea, nausea, and complete exhaustion. I've been handling things on my own since it started, taking care of him, the house, and our 2 toddlers under 5. It's been a lot. Honestly, I've been running on fumes. Every time he so much as moved from the bed or couch, I was there, cleaning up, bringing him water, preparing bland meals he couldn't finish, making sure he was comfortable. I also had to keep the kids entertained, bathed, and fed, manage the mess that comes with 2 young kids, and still somehow try to stay on top of laundry and dishes. I've been waking up early and going to bed late, just trying to keep everything afloat while he's been out of commission. This morning, he said he was feeling a little better and wanted to try eating something. He requested toast, so I made it for him, along with some herbal tea to ease his stomach. I was honestly relieved. Maybe this meant he was turning a corner and I'd get a bit of a break. I brought the toast to him in the living room, where he's basically been living the past few days, camped out on the couch with a blanket and his water bottle. I even opened the windows to air out the room and make things feel a little fresher. While he nibbled at the toast, I went back into the kitchen to get breakfast going for the kids. The older one wanted cereal, the younger wanted yogurt with fruit. It was chaotic as usual, spoons clattering, juice spilling, someone asking why every 2 minutes. The usual morning madness. But I was doing my best, multitasking and moving quickly, trying to keep everyone fed and calm. Suddenly, I heard this horrible gagging sound from the living room. I froze for a second, then called out, "Use the trash can," or "Go to the bathroom if you think you're gonna throw up." He didn't answer, and a second later I heard the unmistakable sound of someone vomiting, and not in a controlled, contained way. I rushed in just in time to see him hunched over, puke splattered all over the hardwood floor, and some on the edge of the couch. The trash can? Completely untouched. It was literally within arm's reach. He hadn't even tried. I stood there completely dumbfounded. We talked about this exact scenario multiple times over the weekend. I'd even made sure he had a trash can, towels, and a roll of paper towels right next to him at all times, just in case he got sick again. It wasn't like this hit him out of nowhere. He gagged for several seconds before it happened. There was time to react. But instead, he just let it happen all over the floor I had cleaned the day before. Then, as if on cue, he walked into the kitchen where I was back to feeding our kids, now both very concerned about the noise and asking questions, and said, "I'm going to go lay down in our room. Can you clean that up?" I just stared at him. I said, probably a little sharper than I meant to, "Absolutely not. You had a trash can right next to you. You knew this might happen, and you didn't even try to make it to the bathroom or aim for the can. I've been cleaning up after you for days, and I'm already overwhelmed. You need to handle it." He looked surprised, like I had slapped him. "Wow," he said, voice dripping with guilt-trippy sarcasm. "Really nice bedside manner." That was the moment I almost lost it. I didn't yell, but I did snap back. I have been showing good bedside manner. I've done everything for you these past few days, made you food, cleaned your messes, kept the kids quiet so you could sleep. I've been doing the work of 2 parents without complaint. But you're not unconscious. You could have used the trash can. You didn't. That part is on you. He didn't say anything else. Just walked away, shoulders slumped, and went into the bedroom. I could hear him flop down onto the bed, and the door clicked shut behind him. Meanwhile, I was left in the kitchen with 2 toddlers, a pile of dirty breakfast dishes, and a puddle of vomit soaking into the living room rug. I took a deep breath, counted to 5, and tried to decide what to do next. I did clean up the vomit, mostly because I didn't want the kids stepping in it or the smell to linger all day. But I was still incredibly frustrated. I know he's sick. I know it's miserable to be nauseous and weak and unable to keep food down. But I also think there's a point where consideration for the person carrying the load matters too. I'm exhausted mentally and physically, and to have him act like I'm the bad guy for setting a boundary, that stung. Or turning this into something more formal, like an essay or story. Later that afternoon, after everyone had eaten and I had somehow survived the morning meltdown, I texted my sister to vent. She's a mom of 3 and always tells it to me straight, so I figured she'd get it. I told her what happened, how overwhelmed I felt, and how my husband got upset with me for not showing him what he called basic compassion. She called me within minutes. "You are not in the wrong here," she said, her voice sharp with disbelief. "You've been managing a sick husband, 2 tiny humans, and the house all on your own. If he was well enough to walk into another room and assign you a task, he was well enough to grab the trash can. That's just weaponized helplessness." It felt good to be validated. I'd been second-guessing myself all morning. I hadn't meant to come off cold, but the buildup of stress, exhaustion, and the sense of being taken for granted had just reached a tipping point. Hearing someone say it out loud, that I wasn't crazy, was more comforting than I expected. But not everyone agreed. Later that evening, my mother-in-law called. I hadn't said anything to her, but apparently my husband had. She started off gently, asking how he was feeling and how the kids were holding up. Then, her tone shifted ever so slightly. "I understand things got a little tense this morning," she said. "He told me you were frustrated. I just hope you're being kind. He's really not feeling well." I bit my tongue for a moment. "I have been kind," I replied carefully. "I've been taking care of everything on my own, including him. But he made a mess he could have avoided, and I just reached a breaking point. I needed a moment to set a boundary." There was a pause, and then she said, "I just think when someone's sick, they deserve a little grace. Maybe he didn't mean to make a mess. He probably feels embarrassed and vulnerable." That rubbed me the wrong way. Of course I knew he was embarrassed. Of course I knew he felt awful. But I'd been giving him grace for days. I'd shown up for him repeatedly, quietly, and without complaint until the one moment I asked him to clean up after himself. And that was the moment he shared with his mom. I didn't get into it with her. There was no point. I thanked her for checking in, told her I was doing my best, and ended the call. But the conversation stuck with me. It gnawed at the edges of my frustration. Was I wrong? Was I too harsh? Should I have sucked it up and cleaned it again? That night, after the kids were finally in bed and the dishes were done, I went to our room. My husband was lying in bed with his phone. He looked up when I walked in. "I didn't mean to throw you under the bus with my mom," he said quickly, as if reading my thoughts. "I just told her I wasn't feeling great and that you were upset." I sat on the edge of the bed, suddenly too tired to keep holding the grudge. I wasn't just upset. I was drowning. You've been out of commission for days, and I've been handling everything. I didn't yell at you. I just told you to clean up a mess that could have been avoided." He sighed, putting the phone down. "I know. I wasn't thinking. I just felt so gross and weak, and yeah, I should have aimed for the can. I don't know why I didn't. I just panicked." That moment of honesty softened me a little. I could see he genuinely felt bad, not just for getting sick, but for making me feel unseen. We sat in silence for a bit before he spoke again. "I think I expected you to baby me more. You usually do." That stung more than I thought it would. "I'm not your mom," I said quietly. "I love you and I'll take care of you. But I need to be taken care of too, even just by not adding more to my plate." He nodded, staring at the ceiling. "I didn't realize how much you were carrying until I wasn't helping." That admission helped more than any apology. We talked for a while longer, quietly, honestly. I told him how hard it had been to do everything alone, and how I felt guilty for getting snappy. He told me he felt ashamed for making a mess, and for expecting me to clean it. We didn't solve everything that night, but we did understand each other better. The next day, he got up before me and made breakfast for the kids. Just toast and applesauce, but it meant everything. I walked into the kitchen and saw him moving slowly but determinedly, and I nearly cried. Later that week, my sister came by and helped me fold laundry. She high-fived me when I told her about our talk. But my mother-in-law, she still thinks I was too hard on him. I've decided I can live with that. Story or memoir-style piece. A few days later, we finally figured out what caused my husband's illness, food poisoning. He had eaten some leftover chicken stir-fry that had been sitting in the office fridge over the weekend. He admitted it was probably a bad idea, but he hadn't wanted to waste food, and he was too busy to go out for lunch that day. When he told me, I just blinked at him. You mean to tell me, I said slowly, that all of this, asterisk everything asterisk, was because you ate questionable leftovers at work? He looked sheepish. Yeah, it didn't smell that bad. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I mean, it wasn't like I'd been blaming myself, but still, some small part of me had been wondering if I'd missed something. Had I not sanitized enough? Had I accidentally passed along some stomach bug from the kids? But nope. This was entirely self-inflicted. The kids are fine, I pointed out, arms crossed. I'm fine. So, it definitely wasn't something I cooked. He nodded. Totally on me. It was a relief to have an answer, but it also made me even more irritated in a weird way. I had been pushed to my absolute limits, managing puke, meltdowns, meals, and laundry, because my grown husband made the executive decision to eat leftover chicken that had been marinating in office fridge funk. And yet somehow, I was the one being judged for not coddling him enough. That night, I got another text from his mother. It was something short but pointed. Hope he's feeling better. Let me know if you need anything. But please try to remember, he's not trying to make your life harder. That was it. That was the message that finally made me snap. Not in anger, but in clarity. She hadn't offered to come help. Not once. Not when I was overwhelmed and sleep-deprived and scrubbing vomit off the couch. Not when I was barely managing the chaos of 2 toddlers and a sick spouse. She hadn't offered to pick up groceries, entertain the kids for a couple hours, or even drop off a meal. Just passive observations and unsolicited advice from a distance. I typed back a message and stared at it for a while before hitting send. He's not trying to make my life harder, but he has made it harder. And I've done my best. But if you're not willing to actually help us, help me, then please don't critique how I'm managing. I'm doing the best I can. I didn't get a reply, and I don't know if she'll bring it up again. But I meant what I said. There's this unspoken expectation in so many families that the wife, the mother, the woman, is the designated caretaker no matter what. We're expected to be endlessly nurturing, patient, and selfless, even when we're drowning. We're supposed to clean the mess, comfort the sick, soothe the kids, manage the household, and do it all without cracking. And the second we say, no, I need help, I can't do it all, we're labeled cold, harsh, ungrateful, lacking bedside manner. But I'm done with that. I love my husband. I want him to feel better. I want him to know he's cared for. But I also love myself, and I deserve care too. And when I'm exhausted and pushed to the brink, I get to set a boundary. I get to say, you can clean up this one mess. Because here's the truth, the kids are fine. They're loved, they're fed, they're thriving. They didn't get sick, thank God. And they've been rolling with the punches better than some adults. They gave their dad hugs and whispered, feel better soon, while I was doing a load of his soiled laundry. They helped me make soup and clumsily handed him crackers. They've shown more grace than most people would expect from kids under 5. So if anyone wants to criticize how I managed this week, from the comfort of their own homes, behind their phones, they can kindly back off. Unless they're going to roll up their sleeves and actually help, they don't get a say. My husband is recovering now. He's still a bit weak, but he's getting back into the swing of things. He's been more present, more engaged, more aware. He's apologized again, not just for the mess, but for making me feel alone in all of it. I told him it wasn't just about one incident. It was about the imbalance, the assumption that I'd just keep going no matter how burnout I got. We've talked about how we want to handle things next time. A plan for sickness. A more equal distribution of the emotional labor. It's not a perfect system, but at least we're talking about it now. And me, I'm proud of myself. I didn't lose my temper. I didn't collapse under pressure. I stood up for myself, not in anger, but in strength. I said this is too much and meant it. And I will continue to mean it. Because being a partner doesn't mean being a martyr. It means being honest, being fair, and sometimes it means asking others to either help or stay out of the way. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.